Morning as we go to the Chlitas of today. Today is the third day of the week, which is Shlishi in the portion of holding Parshas Vayishlach. So Yaakov Avinu just had a fight with the angel of Esav. Vayikra Yaakov Shem Hamokim Paniel, and Yaakov called that place Pniel. The Yisrael Kimpanim upon him, because I saw God face to face, but he not till nafshi, and my soul was saved. Aziz Shemesh, and the sun arose. Penuel, the sun arose when he traveled, when he came past Penuel. Would say La Yerecha, and he was limping on his thigh. Now she says this is a common expression when we arrive at such a place and the dawn broke upon for us. This is a simple explanation. The Medrash Haggadah says actually the sun rose for him to heal him. Yaakov Avinu was sick. He had a hip problem. So the sun rose for him to heal him. It says the sun of mercy with healing in its wings. And those hours that it hastened to set for him, when he left Beersheba, it hastened to arise for him. In essence, the sun came up earlier that day, as the sun went down earlier, the day when he when he came to Beth El. Over here, the sun came up earlier, so that the sun would rise and it would warm him, and it would heal him from his fight with the angel. Utzaleah, he was limping on his thigh when the sun arose. So now the Yidden got later on the mitzvah of the Gid HaNoshe. The Gid HaNoshe is you not eat this place tendon to the tendon. That there's a certain tendon, it's called the Gid, that we don't eat when in an animal. It's the back legs of an animal. Till today, if you eat an animal, if you shecht an animal, in America, for example, they give away the backside of the animal. They don't even kasher it because it's very hard to take out this nerve, Gid HaNoshe, and they give it non-kosher. They eat it, but Netzol they do that. That's why it's hard to get filet mignon in America, kosher filet mignon, because a filet mignon is the backside of the animal, and in America they don't take out this nerve, and therefore it's not. You can't find it here. Which is the socket of the hip. Because to touch the socket of the hip of Yaakov and the hip of the city. Now what happened? Why is the name Gid HaNoshe? Because it's sprang Noshe out of its place. It is the root and term for the springing. Similarly, the nishta, and the simile is brought on God caused me to forget nishani. So the concept of moving away. So this nerve is right by the hip over there. Yaakov Avinu, that nerve moved away. That's why he was in great pain. Yaakov lift his eyes. She looked up and he saw Esav was coming, 400 men. So he divided the children with Leah and Rachel and 2 maidservants. First he put the maidservants and the children first, slave of the Achreinim, and then he put the Leah and the children after that. So Rachel was Yosef, Achreinim. He ultimately put Yosef and his mother all the way in the back. Rashi says the further back, the more beloved. He self-understood was the more very protective of Rachel and her son. He went before them, went in front of all of them. And he prostrated, he bent down to the earth 7 times until he came close to the brother. He said, if this grand scoundrel comes and fight, let him fight with me first. So he'll have to fight with me first. And if he wins me, then until he wins me, the others can run. Yoretz Esav the cross, Yoretz and Esav ran towards him. Vayichabkeyu, and he embraced him. Vayipa Atavara, he fell on his neck. Vayishakeyu, and he cried. And he kissed him. Vayivchu, and he wept. Rashi says his compassion was moved when he saw him prostrate himself all those times. When he saw Yaakov bow down all these times, he had a moment of compassion. Vayishakeyu, I underlined the word Vayishakeyu because on top of those, every letter is a dot. Nakud olav, there's a dot on the word. Every letter has a dot. Because the Vayishakeyu kissed him, there's a controversy concerning this matter in the Brisa. There's a machlekes in the Brisa. Some interpret the dots to mean that he did not kiss him wholeheartedly. Shimba Yochai said, it's a well-known tradition that Esav hates Yaakov. That's life. Actually, it says the word halacha in Rashi. The Gemara, it's the word halacha. Halachi to Esav to Yidush Esav Yaakov. It's halacha. That's a fact. You're not going to change anything. The Rebbe once said that's the meaning of halacha. Halacha means that's the law. That's the law. You're not going to change it. You might hatred against Jews is almost like a Jewish law. It doesn't have to make any sense. The way it is, the halacha, almost like they don't have any choice but to hate us. Almost like it's impossible for them not to hate us. He had a moment of compassion, a moment of insanity. Compassion was moved at that time. And he kissed him wholeheartedly. So you have some who say that there's a dot on each one because they didn't kiss him, he did kiss him with his whole heart. Shimba Yochai says that might be the fact. Fact is that Esav suddenly Yaakov. But at that moment, he had a moment of mercy and he kissed him wholeheartedly. Yisa Einav Yaris Anoshim Risaladam, he uplifted his eyes, saw all these men, all these women. Who are these to you? He said, these are my children. God has favored you, sir. Who are these to be yours? That's his question. Who are these to be? Why did you merit all this? So, like I said, this is what the Abishah gave me as a gift. Completes the Chumash of the day. So we'll continue tomorrow. So we're coming to the end of this fourth Kuntis, the fourth Kuntis, the fourth essay of the Alter Rebbe. In Kuntis Achron, his essays at the end of the Tanya. The Alter Rebbe is explaining how Pi Kabbalah, according to Kabbalistic interpretations, what happens through a mitzvah, what happens not only through the mitzvah that we do in the upper worlds, what happens when we learn, we just ended off, what happens when we learn a halacha, learn a Jewish law, that the wisdom of God, I think we ended off yesterday, that the wisdom of Chachma, the Chachma of Atzilus, comes straight into the halacha, the law. The Alter Rebbe continues. The statement of Eitz Chaim, a statement in the book of Kabbalah, Eitz Chaim, Shari Yechudim, portrait of Yechudim, Shaydei HaKavana, that through intention, one has intention. Nasa levush, it becomes a garment. Levush neshama, the intention creates a garment for the soul. Aidei HaTorah, and through the Torah study. Levush, it becomes a garment, ruach de ruach. A ruach of the garment of the Yitzira. Aidei Mishnah the Yitzira. You learned before, in the past, that Mishnah, the oral law, Shishe Sidrei Mishnah. Mishnah is the concept of the world of Yitzira, Mishnah, Jewish law, oral law, because it's what's allowed and what's not allowed. So it's the concept of midas, it's the aspect of emotions, chesed and gevura, what's allowed and what's not allowed, what is kind and what's connected and what's unconnected. So that's why Mishnah comes from Yitzira. Ruach, the neshama, the bria. And then when I learn the interpretation of halacha, which is the Gemara, when I learn the Talmud, so not what happens, I created lavush, a garment of the neshama, which is intellect, in the world of bria, in the world of creation. Ayidei hagemara, which derives from the world of creation. So we learned in the past that Gemara comes from the world of creation. Mishnah comes from the world of formation. The pasuk comes from the world of, is connected to the world of creation. World of Asiyah. So it goes topsy-turvy in a way. That the Torah is from the world of Asiyah. That's the pasuk, the simple verse. Then you have the laws of what you're allowed to and not allowed to do is in the world of Yitzira. Then you have the concept of the Talmud, which is the intellectual part of the law. It's not the emotional part, what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do, but actually what's behind what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. That's like the neshama of the matter, and that's in the world of Bria. It would thus seem a Torah perception, garments of Ruach, which is a created being. This can be assumed that it refers to the Torah studied by man in this world and ascends above. It then becomes a garment of the Ruach, since it derives from the created man. And that's why it goes really to the Ruach, to the Ruach of the soul, which is an Olam HaYitzira. Talmud Atzmai, but the Talmud itself, Nitna B'Sinai, that was given at Sinai, the Talmud, the Gemara, meaning the Torah which is given from above, who b'neshama is in the level of soul. So the intellect ultimately is in the level of soul, which is a degree in divinity, chokhmah, wisdom. U'lachein, therefore, learning Gemara, which is the meaning behind the law. That's why the neshama refines learning Talmud refines the Mishnah. Learning Talmud refines the spirit. Because if you're going to learn Mishnah alone, you're going to only be in the level of Yitzira. You're only going to be in the level of Midas. You want to go to the level of the Neshama. You want to go to the level of the Neshama of Chachma, which the Chachma will refine the Midas. So too the Mishnah Yitzira is given above from Sinai, it's to a degree in Neshama. Even if you suggest that even what is given from above at Sinai is at the level of Ruach Bina, of Ruach, of Bria in Yitzira, even so, it's not in Neshama, it's not in wisdom, it's actually in Midas. It's not like an independent created entity, but like an emissary who merely expresses the power of his principles. So it's known that every angel, through Shliach Milmayla, which is an emissary from above, when he becomes an emissary, at that time by the name of God, which dwells within it. However, when he's not a messenger, if he's not a messenger, then he has a name according to his manner of service. That's why Yaakov Avinu, the Malach, answered Yaakov Avinu that my name is according to my service. If I'm sent directly by God for a message, then I have the name of God upon me. But if I'm just doing my avodah, my own service, what I was created for, then it depends the service that I'm doing. Then he proclaims, then the Malach says, I'm holy, 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 holy is God. Meaning by that time, the name of God is separate from him. Well, the word Kadosh implies separateness. We thus see that, that it's entirely possible for a created being to be called by the name of the name of God. Because when this created being, the Malach, does the message of God, he's not doing his own service, he's doing the service, he's a messenger at that moment. Then he's called by the name of God. So too, if we understand that by Malacha, so too, when we learn Gemara, when we enclose ourselves in the limud haGemara, in the teachings of the Talmud, what happens is the wisdom of God comes through. It's like with Derech Malbush, it comes through. It's like on a mission. It's on a mission. The Talmud's on a mission. The Neshama is on a mission through the garments of Bria and Yetzirah. It's like on a mission. It comes through, the Neshama shines like through a mission. They are like the messengers of God. Kaelin and Nukva Atzilis mean the vessels of Nukva, Malchus Atzilis, like on a mission. The external vessels of the Talmud and the intermediate vessels of the Mishnah. Asha Mishnah, the Talmud, because both the Mishnah and the Talmud, that they are within them, meaning within the Ruach HaBriya Yetzirah, which is the Mishnah and the Talmud, issues from the Yesod Abba of Chachma, of wisdom, which receives this influence of Chachma Stimav Arachavim for Chachma of Kesed, which is clothed the infinite light of Ein and Sefer. So in essence, we have the concept, the way Kabbalah explains the Seder Shtalshlus, that Ein and Sefer comes into Ratzai, which is the will of God, the whole purpose of why God wanted the world and wanted Torah and mitzvahs. That's the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The whole Torah and mitzvahs is all the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does this will of the Eibusha ultimately comes into Atzilus? We're over there in the world of Atzilus, it's all one. His will and his wisdom is one. And that's why ultimately everything in the world of Atzilus is the constant of oneness. And then it ultimately comes into the world of Bria, which is the Gemara, which is the revelation of the Talmud, the Neshama of the Torah. And then it ultimately comes down into the world of Yetzirah, which is the emotions of the Torah, which is the Mishnah. When Nimtza, so if you understand this, Nimtza Sha'oid Ein Seif, that when I learn Gemara or I learn Mishnah, Oid Ein Seif, the infinite light of God, who's Shem Hashem, which is the name of God, Shaychem Beruach is in the spirit of Bnei Yitzin Asir. And that is through learning Mikra, Mishnah, Talmud. The Mikra, Mishnah, Talmud. Learning Pasha, Pasuk, Chumash, which we did today. Learning Talmud, learning Gemara, and learning Mishnayos. Adam Leimed Mamshech Eirin Seif Baruch Hu Ba'elam Hazeh. And that's the ultimate lesson. When a Jew studies, whether it's Chumash, whether it's Mishnah, the oral tradition, or whether it's Talmud, He draws forth the infinite light of God directly into this world. That the world should be incorporated and nullified to the divine light of God. Why should you do this? That's what you were created for. And the expression in the Gemara, a person should not praise himself in his learning. A person should not look for glory in the learning of Torah. Because that's why I was created. I was created to learn. Why was I created to learn Torah? Why was I created to learn Mishnah? And why was I created to learn Talmud? And why was I created to learn Pasuk? Because I was created to bring godliness into this world. I was created to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. And the greatest way and the most powerful way is to learn Torah. The entire purpose of man creation is to make this world become nullified to God's light. And this is accomplished through Torah study. And that's where you find the Gemara. The Gemara says, like Rab Shimei Echai v'chol ha-Tanoim v'Amoraim b'Nigla. All the Tanoim of the Mishnah and all the Amoraim in the Gemara, what did they want to accomplish? A hamshich Eryus Baruch. They wanted to call forth the divine light in this world. And to affect the purification of Klippas Noiga, of the covering that shines. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to transform this world through Limud HaTorah. They wanted to take over the world through learning Torah. That's what we want to do till today. To take over the world, transform the world, elevate this world through learning Torah. Whether it's Torah Shebiksav, the Chumash, whether it's Torah She'al-Peh, Nigla, the Mishnah, and the Gemara. Yeah. Kol Shmeshech Zman HaGolus. We're obligated throughout the entire period of exile, the time of dominion of the tree of good and evil. We are part of the Golus is for the life force of the world, the rise of Kippus Noiga, which is composed of both good and evil. Ashikosav, as it's brought in the Torah. Ace, we're in a time, which the evil man dominates the man of holiness. This is what's happening in the world we're living in. A time where evil, where impurity rules over purity. And we need to break that. We need to reveal the purity within the impurity. We need to break through that cover. Is that the purpose of the chain of the